Hello everyone, my name is CCG88 and welcome to episode 60 of the Refurbished Logo Evolution series. This series needs more PBS affiliated stations. Since it's episode 60, we might as well go through my personal favourite, WNET. WNET began airing on May the 15th, 1948 as WATV in Newark, New Jersey and in New York. Almost exactly 10 years later, on May the 7th, 1958, the call sign changed to WNTA-TV. Until 1962, they were operated as an independent television station. The name WNTA didn't last that long, mainly due to inconclusive deals. On September the 16th, 1962, WNTA-TV was renamed to WNDT with its call letter standing for New Dimension in Television, joining National Educational Television. Beginning in 1967, there were plans for WNDT and NET to merge. This never happened, again mainly due to arguments and a loss of money because of the Vietnam War. As such, on October the 1st, 1970, WNDT renamed itself for the final time, changing to WNET. On the 4th, NET ceased network operations with the Public Broadcasting Service, or PBS, overtaking their place on October the 5th, although the name NET was still in use until 1972. We have 25 logos to go through today, so you might want to get some popcorn and a drink before we begin. A 26th logo from WNET is said to be revealed sometime in early 2020 as part of PBS's rebrand to celebrate their 50th anniversary. We'll quickly go through the first bunch since they're all just pictures. The first logo from WATV looked like this. We'll call it the WATV Field. It was used from 1948 to 1958. Even though it was used for a solid 10 years, no videos of it exist, only this one picture. It looks interesting, particularly because it's 3D, but it's most likely a still considering the time period. The next logo is just WATV's test pattern used during 1951. The test pattern looks typical for its time. Although not necessary, it would be good to find videos of these two logos. The logo WNTA used was a lot simpler. We'll just call it Big 13 for the time being. It was seen from 1958 to 1962. Again, it's very likely to be a still. Swiftly moving on, we end up at WNDT with 3 logos to cover. The first one we have to go through is arguably the most well known from them, the WNDT Owl. This was used from 1962 to 1970. There are very few videos of this logo online. In fact, the majority of logo fans have seen it on one source from 1968, and that's it. The Owl logo can be seen in this opening night broadcast in 1962, featuring Edward R. Murrow, but apart from that, no other public video has this logo intact. Up next is something I bet only a small handful of you have seen. The next logo looks like this. I honestly have no nicknames for this at the moment, so if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Apparently, this was seen in 1963. Whether it was seen again or not remains a mystery. Like with every logo so far, it's bound to be still. It's interesting to see something that isn't on the main CLG wiki page yet though. Here we have a normal in-credit notice for the time. The source it was from said it was seen in 1965. It seems likely that an in-credit logo would have been seen throughout the 1960s. As you've clearly seen, we don't have that many videos or pictures of these 6 logos. Either way, they're all probably stills or just text going up. So even if we did get footage for all 6 of these, it wouldn't be entirely interesting to witness. Saying that though, earlier this year, another logo from WNDT was uncovered, and we do have quite a bit of information on it. When colour came to TV, WNDT's logo for a very short time looked like this. We'll call it the WNDT/WNET rings. It was used from 1970 to 1971. I have 5 videos. 2 are from WNDT. There's an opening version where the words in colour slide from left to right.
Produced in New York by WNDT.
And there's a closing version with a copyright stamp.
Was produced in New York by WNDT.
The other 3 variants have the WNET name. these are all in black and white, although I suspect this version on screen was in colour, but the videotape was badly damaged, making it black and white. There's an opening version and a closing version. They're both still. The final version has the logo superimposed.
By its Senate hearings on the treatment of war refugees, and several congressional committees have pledged inquiries soon on other aspects of the war.
The animation on these versions is primitive, but it is nice to see some form of animation. This is the first good logo from today. If you know National Educational Television's logos, you'll definitely know about this one. Even though NET passed on in 1970, NET didn't completely dissolve until 1972, like I said earlier. WNET had a similar logo to this, with the final product looking like this. The NET logo has the nickname Scanimate lettered, so we'll call this one Scanimate letters/numbers. It was seen from 1972 to 1973.
The following program is from WNET 13.
Scanimated logos have been criticised left, right and centre, but considering the time period and limitations, this isn't too bad. I've definitely seen worse. It was only seen for a year, so it wouldn't have made a huge difference. The following logo has not been found whatsoever ever since the CGI Wiki page for WNET was created in 2007. Anyone that has viewed this page will definitely know what I'm referring to. Welcome to the Weird 13. The date for this logo has changed a lot since it was first placed on the CGI Wiki. It currently has a date of 1972 to 1980 with a question mark. At first, the date said 1974 to 1977, but the picture itself says 1971 to 1974. Whatever the real date for this logo is, the only way to really find it these days is to find old recordings of WNET's programming from the early 70s, but considering that Betamax and VHS weren't invented until 1975 and 1976 respectively, it seems very unlikely someone sat down and recorded this ident in particular. There were other recording methods back then like the U-matic, but none of them would have really been used universally in American households. Will we ever find this logo? I would say we will, but the further we go into the future, the harder it will be to discover. Even if we did find it, it wouldn't be that exciting since it's likely to be another still. The next logo practically made WNET famous in the logo community and is the one most people can recognise. Here is the puzzle. Currently, the date on the CGI Wiki is 1973 to 1979. I have 8 variants. One is in black and white. One finishes on a teal background. Five are 16mm filmed versions. And one has a bluish-purple background with some funding credits.
This program was made possible by a grant from Pepsi-Cola Company.
Some have considered this logo to be very cheap, but the normal version animates perfectly fine. The music is the reason why it's so popular though. It's a very memorable synthesized tune. It was used for the majority of the 1970s after all. A second logo with the same music exists, with an end result of this. We often call it Art Deco 13, and it was seen from 1973 to 1975. I have 3 versions. Two have an announcer saying produced in New York by WNET. One is slightly shorter than the other.
Produced in New York by WNET. Produced in New York by WNET.
The final version has an announcer speaking a presentation of WNET.
A presentation of WNET.
First-time viewers may find this logo very confusing and not see the 13. It took me a while to see it too. If we stop the logo here and rotate it, you can see the 13 a lot better. Also, I don't really like the letters WNET zooming in and out very quickly. It looks rather unprofessional. Like before though, the music is fitting and nice to listen to. Moving on, we end up with another in-credit logo. I have found footage of this from 1976, but it seems very likely that it was used across the 1970s. Nothing too fascinating here, so just to throw it in, here's WNET's science logo. This has also been seen in 1976.
The Thin Edge series is being made possible by an underwriting grant from Bristol-Myers Company.
The animation still looks very anachronistic but innovative at the same time. Considering I've only seen this on one source, it's not too bad. The simplicity of WNET's logos increases with the WNET of Boredom. This was in use from 1979 to 1985. I have 14 videos in total. Normal versions of this logo say from WNET New York. Two are on a black background. One has white bars along with the funding credits, and one is still.
Funding for this program has been provided by grants from the National Endowment for the Arts, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Exxon Corporation, and by this station and other public television stations.
Two are on a blue background.
Funding for this program was provided by a grant from Exxon Corporation, by this station and other public television. Funding for this program was provided by a grant from Exxon Corporation, by this station and other public television stations.
One happens inside a blue rectangle with a white and red outline.
This program is made possible by grants from the Ford Foundation and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
5 versions are superimposed.
This presentation of Cinema 13 is made possible by an underwriting grant from Sims Clothing Incorporated.
Funding for the following program has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of Insurance Companies.
Funding for this series has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, this station and other public television stations.
This program was made possible by a grant from the Independent Documentary Fund, which is supported by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Ford Foundation. This program is made possible by a grant from the Independent Documentary Fund, which is supported by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Ford Foundation, the Program Fund of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by public television stations, and by additional grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Samuel Rubin Foundation, the William and Mary Grieve Foundation, and by the Albert Kunstadter Family Foundation.
And the remaining 4 are closing versions. One has a transcript message.
For a transcript of this program, send $2 to Bill Moyer's Journal,
Post Office Box 900, New York, New York, 10019. This program was made possible by grants from the Ford Foundation and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
And 3 are more traditional closing logos where we see a production of WNET 13. This is rather unremarkable to say the least. It's odd how I was able to find 14 videos for this logo, but nothing for the next one. If you don't know, Great Performances is a television show beginning in 1972 and produced by WNET. Apparently there was a special WNET logo created specifically for the program's 10th season. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any pictures or videos. In fact, I couldn't really get hold of any material from Great Performances' early seasons. We'll just call it the Great Performances logo. As I've said, this was made for season 10 of the show, but Wikipedia states that between 1981 and 1982, Great Performances aired their 9th season. I had a feeling that maybe the logo was on the 10th anniversary celebration, which aired on December the 6th, 1982, but that's outside of the date boundaries on the CRG Wiki. Both websites are just wikis, and it's easy to make a mistake on them, but since both sources say completely different things with no correlation, it's hard to come to a solid conclusion with this logo. Check if you or anyone else you know has recorded some episodes of Great Performances' 9th and 10th season. What's on screen now is the next logo, the radar. It was used from 1983 to 1989. A filmed version has been spotted. Even though I said the 1973 logo was the first logo from WNET to be properly liked, a few people do dislike it. This is the first logo from WNET that virtually everyone likes. It has decent and rather effective animation for the 1980s, the music is rather nice, despite being simple, and is overall a favourite to many people. Audibly, I like the 1973's tune more, but visually, the 1983 logo is more appealing. This is the part of WNET's life where they stop using old techniques and bring in some brand new CGI. Like this, WNET In Space. This was used from 1987 to 1992. I have found 4 variants. 2 are shortened versions. One has the logo alongside KCET, another PBS affiliated station. And one is an in-credit logo. Even though these 2 logos are pretty much the same length, this CGI one feels faster due to the quicker animation. It's typical but decent 80s animation. Up next is one of the more simple logos from WNET. It's one of their local IDs. It's also the beginning of the Abstract 13 trilogy. This ident was used from 1988 to 1995. I have 4 other videos. One is shorter and is followed by the NJN logo. One just says keeping what matters in sight. One has a phone number at the bottom of the screen.
That's why I came to work here and it's why I'm a member.
And one is a Christmas themed one where it says Season's Greetings. You will notice that the IDs from the 1990s are more straightforward than their production logos. To show you what I mean, here's the Spotlight, the main logo seen at the end of WNET shows from the 90s, being in use from 1992 all the way to 1999. There's 2 extra versions where there is an announcer. Sometimes the announcer would say a production of WNET New York.
A production of WNET New York.
and other times the announcer would say a presentation at WNET New York.
A presentation of WNET New York.
Believe it or not, this logo was made in live action. After 4 long years of knowing this logo, I still can't see how it was made in live action. Therefore, it's very impressive for the 1990s, although some have said the music is a little strange. I think it's alright. The most boring of the Abstract 13 logos, just coincidentally, has to be the rarest, the Abstract 13-2, used between 1993 and 1999.
Local broadcast of the News Hour is made possible courtesy of 13 WNET.
There's a version on a black background.
Or issue. And you can get something said and thought out that way.
Proper footage of this logo wasn't discovered until June of 2019 by Jordan Rios, and frankly, I'm quite disappointed. I told you these IDs were basic. WNET tries to win you back with the Abstract 13-3, which was seen from 1995 to 1999. There's a pledging version.
Our lines will remain open during the program. Or you can mail your check to 13, Box 1313, New York 10101.
To be perfectly fair, this isn't too bad. It's a lot more sophisticated than the other 2 IDs, but it's still rather elementary. The past 3 logos were all retired in 1999. This was because WNET had a large rebrand and their main ID/logo introduced in 1999 looked like this. We like to call it the Bubbles, and it was discontinued in 2006. I have 7 videos of this. 3 have a Dodger blue background. The main version seen at the end of shows plays out like this. WNET collaborated with Nelvana on a couple of shows during this time. The WNET logo would have been the same as before, but shorter and with the ending theme to a show. There's the normal pledge version too.
Our phone lines will remain open during the program. Or mail your check to 13, Box 1313, New York, New York 10101.
3 have a red background. All 3 versions were IEDs only as far as I know. 1 is short and 2 are quite long. The 3rd version has a thank you message by an announcer.
Thanks to our members and the following for their support of 13's programming today.
The 7th version has a turquoise background. The bubbles, or dots, on the normal version are apparently representing skyscrapers. I do see where they were going when making this. Plus, for the late 90s and early 2000s, it's not too bad. WNET really go for this skyscrapers angle as the final 3 logos all contain them. The first of these 3 is called CGI Skyscrapers, and it looks like this. It was seen from 2006 to 2015. I have 2 variants involving Nelvana with the closing theme to a television program. It's clearly obvious that 13's logos are getting a lot more unadorned, but they aren't entirely boring. Some of you might dislike WNET's modern logos due to their plainness, but at least they aren't completely overdoing or underdoing them. The next one is a live action logo with some more animation than before. Say hello to the Manhattan Skyline. This was introduced in 2009. As of November 2019, it's still in use. As I said, WNET is supposed to get a new logo in 2020, so this may retire next year. I have 9 variations in total. From 2009 to 2012, the logo read WNET.org 13. There's a version with the same animation, but Creative News Group has replaced 13. From 2012 onwards, the logo simply reads WNET 13. In the same fashion, a version that reads WNET Creative News Group exists. On certain shows, the logo just reads WNET. On WLIW produced programs, the logo would read WNET.org WLIW21. This is a slightly different version with a different shot of Manhattan. The final two versions say WNET WLIW21. Despite its effortlessness, I like seeing Manhattan at night. Due to how popular WNET is, you can definitely recognise some of the buildings, even if it's dark. It's a pretty respectable logo in its own way. 10 years after this logo was born, WNET updated themselves again, still including Manhattan, but changing everything else. The 25th and final logo for this 71-year-old company is this. You can either call it the Manhattan Skyline 2 or the WNET sign. It was introduced in 2019. Out of these three logos, this last one wins the award for the most animation. With this in mind, maybe WNET's next logo will have a skyline but perform a lot better. With many ups and downs, WNET stays strong. WNET is culturally significant in today's world, especially in America and in the local community. You could argue that it's the most recognisable PBS-affiliated station of all time. The majority of their shows have earned a lot of praise, with many being on the air for 20, 30, 40 or even 50 years. It's clearly obvious why WNET was, is and will remain my favourite PBS-affiliated station. 25 logos was a lot to get through, and I'm glad you sat for the whole video. Many of you were waiting for this, and I hope I delivered this video greatly. I've had a good year, and I could not be where I am now without you guys. The channel reached 2,500 subscribers recently, so thank you very much for that. Also, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you very, very much for watching this video and watching this channel across 2019. Let's hope 2020 is just as successful. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next year. Goodbye!